every single part of the sumac plant is medicinally active. I keep it and I use it literally all the time.
Hello and welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, a show exploring how herbs heal as medicine, as food, and through nature connection. I'm your host, Rosalee de la Forêt. I created this YouTube channel to share trusted herbal wisdom so that you can get the best results when relying on herbs for your health. I love offering up practical knowledge to help you dive deeper into the world of medicinal plants and seasonal living. Each episode of the Herbs with Rosalee podcast is shared on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast app. Transcripts and recipes for each episode can be found at herbswithrosaleepodcast.com or through the link in the video description. Also in the video description, you'll find other helpful resources. For example, to get my best herbal tips, as well as fun bonuses, be sure to sign up for my weekly herbal newsletter. Okay, grab your cup of tea and let's dive in. I loved my time with Phyllis Light, and it's not simply because her information about sumac was so inspiring and eye-opening, but also hearing Phyllis's unique herbal story and her philosophy about herbs and herbalism was also a treat. I think you're going to love this episode, and as always, I'm excited to hear what you think. For those of you who don't already know her, Phyllis D. Light, a fourth-generation herbalist and healer, has studied and worked with herbs, foods, and other healing techniques for over 30 years. Her studies in traditional Southern folk medicine began in the deep woods of North Alabama, with lessons from her grandmother, whose herbal and healing knowledge had its roots in her Creek Cherokee heritage. Phyllis's studies continued as an apprentice with the late Tommy Bass, a nationally renowned folk herbalist from Sand Rock, Alabama. She is the director of the Appalachian Center for Natural Health in Arab, Alabama, which offers both online classes and in-person classes. She's also on the faculty of the Matthew Wood Institute of Herbalism. Phyllis is the author of Southern Folk Medicine, Healing Traditions from Appalachian Fields and Forests, published by North Atlantic. Welcome to the show, Phyllis.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such an honor. I'm so excited to have you here. It's been years since we've been together in person.
Yes.
I want to say it was at IHS, and I don't even remember which one, but it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe it was at Bonnie up in the Midwest.
No.
IHS.
Yeah.
Okay.
IHS. Yeah. Yeah, I remember I got to go to the teacher's lounge because I was a teacher. It was like my first time there, and so I was very excited. I remember hanging out with you and just thinking, like, life is good. I'm hanging out with Phyllis Light right now.
Hey, teacher's lounge, that's a big milestone. I remember when I got in the teacher's lounge, it's like, oh my God, I made it.
And just randomly, another memory I have for that is I took one of your classes, and I think it was on Southern folk herbalism. And somebody in the class asked you, like, what do you do in your cuticle? Like, you get kind of like the hangnail cuticle thing. And you said, the best thing to do is just put it down and stop playing with it. And I was like, I love this woman. It was just so practical. I was like, yeah.
That's it. Leave it alone.
Well, we could continue to travel on the road of reminiscence, but I would love to hear your herbal story. I've actually heard it before, and I love it. So I'm excited to hear
Okay.
How you found yourself on this plant path.
All right. Well, my father was a wild crafter and herbalist, and so was my grandmother, who was a midwife and herbalist back in her day. And the Ruth community and part of Kentucky Valley but this was like the 30s, 40s, that time period, 20s, 30s, and 40s. And her mother and her aunts had all been kind of midwives, herbalists. So that's who she learned from. And so it was just part of the family. So I started in the woods, helping when I was about 10 years old, learning to identify the plants, not all the plants, but the plants that were needed, that we were harvesting for sale, because that's what a wild crafter does in part, is harvest plants to sell, because this was like the living part of the living for the family. So that was my early beginnings. Gosh, I went from there. I started seeing clients, I guess first time when I was about 19, because I'd been like with my grandmother, or my dad or some family member learning for like since I was 10. So it was like 9 years. Now, did I have experience? Not a lot, at 19. But back in that time period, I had been with my grandmother and my family enough to, it was a kind of the same old thing over and over. Um, Different world back in that time period. Nobody was on multiple medications.
Mm,
Nobody had health insurance.
mm,
Nobody was overweight. Nobody was type 2 diabetic. And so it was acute things,
mm,
digestive issues, occasionally some sort of reproductive issue, but rarely. I remember when I was about 23, I met my first person who had a prostate surgery ever, for prostate cancer. It was just a kind of a different health environment. Everybody grew their own food. Everybody was poor. There were no factories in town, no jobs, but everybody grew their food. It was just kind of poor rural Appalachian foothills. Everybody hunted or had a pig or chickens or a cow, that sort of thing. So it wasn't kind of this sort of disorders I saw, but later, or I see now. Let me put it that way. That's sort of disorders I see now. But anyway, that's where I got my early herbal training, and then later I studied with Tommy Bass, who lived about an hour from me in the opposite direction on a mountain in northeast Alabama. And Tommy Bass had, an amazing amount of experience. I mean, 1 year when I was with him, we saw 3,000 people, if you imagine.
wow.
I
Wow.
know, I know.
And so you just kind of shadowed him, like you would see the people and you'd be there to support and
Yeah,
be
yeah,
the apprentice.
totally.
Mhm.
That was exactly it. And he was a little bit different, approach from my grandmother had been just very practical, very, kind of poor Southern oriented, and when you make do with what you've got, they gathered their own plants, that sort of thing. Now, Tommy also gathered all his own plants, and he also sold plants to herb companies for a living. So he did a lot of wild crafting himself, but he saw a lot of people, a whole lot of people. Now, Tommy's clientele kind of shifted because originally it was more like my grandmother's clientele of just the acute injury of, oh my God, the chainsaw slipped, kind of some of those injuries, acute things, or I fell off the bluff and I broke my arm, kind of stuff. And Tommy saw this was Tommy's clientele, and then somebody published an article in the New York Journal, no, New York, some journal newspaper, some newspaper, and his name hit national airwaves, and all of a sudden his clientele were people who um, could afford to pay, mostly college educated. It just totally shifted.
Hmm.
It just totally shifted.
Do you remember when that was? Like about what year it was?
I'm going to say that was probably it was a New York Journal. I'm going to say that's probably the late 80s or early 90s. Early
Okay.
90s. Tommy died in 96, so it was probably the mid to late 80s.
Okay.
And at that point he kind of got upset because his whole approach had been, let me take you out in the woods. Let me show you the herb. Let me show you how to gather it. We'll come back to the stove. I'll show you how to cook it up. I'll send you off with some and you go take care of yourself.
Hmm.
You know, it was like a very self sufficient, let me teach you how to fish approach.
Mhm.
Right. And so he almost kind of quit. He got kind of despondent because people would come and they did not want to go out in the woods. They did not want to know how to prepare it. They were like, just do this for me and I'll pay you.
Hmm.
And it was like this, which is more like what's, going on now. I
Mhm.
just want the herb. I don't wanna be involved in any other part of it. So it was he got very despondent about it and thought about quitting for a while, and then folks talked him into continuing, and he did. But he was really busy up until the year before he died, and he died in 1996. So he was, like, busy probably until 1995,
Mm,
and then the last year he just didn't feel well,
mm.
because he was, like, 89 or 90 or something by then.
Okay. I'm curious, I could, like, imagine why he was despondent and upset that people were just wanting to pay for it, but I'm wondering if you could put that more into words or just, like, what his philosophy was that made that so
Well,
unappealing.
he was very much of the generation of, "You should take care of yourself. You
Mm,
should know how to do these things. You are responsible for your health. Don't try to make me responsible for your health. Let me show you how to take care of
mm,
yourself. You are responsible for you."
mhm.
That was
Yeah,
kind of it in a nutshell.
yeah. I can respect that, and it is interesting, just the difference of today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
Because now I think we've kind of floated more toward a pharmaceutical model, whether we've
mm,
realized it or not.
mm,
I want to just purchase my herbs, which is fine. My view is as long as you get them down your throat, whatever. However you get them is totally up to you, and I'm totally supportive of your process in this, as long as you take them.
mhm,
I don't care if it's capsules or tinctures or teas or decoctions, whatever, as long as you take them. So,
mm. I hear the
yeah.
practicality of your maternal line coming through. It's very
Yeah.
practical. Let's get this
Yes,
done.
it is. If they're not taking the if they come to see you and you go, "I'm only doing tinctures," and they're like, "I don't like tinctures," what have you accomplished,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
What have you what how have you helped them
Mhm.
other than taking some money from them?
Right. So what I find interesting is so you had I think what so many of us yearn for is that ancestral lineage of being a plant person. And I think it occurred to me that a lot of people have that dream for their children too. If they're herbalists now, they're,
Yeah.
wishing their children would follow them, which, I
Yes.
know that doesn't, always happen.
No.
Um, so you have this ancestral lineage of 4 generations at least,
Yeah.
um, and so you're kinda grew up within that, and then you apprenticed with Tommy Bass, and at what point this is just personal curiosity, like, at what
Mhm.
point did you, find your, like, herbal contemporaries, like rosemary or David Winston or
Oh,
you know
yeah. In 1999, I went to work as the director of herbal studies at Clayton College. And it's really funny because I just saw David Winston and Matthew Wood this weekend, and we were talking about what was your first herbal book. My first herbal book was The Mystery and Magic of Plants by Reader's Digest.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh my god, a book about plants,"
Mhm.
because my whole thing had been oral tradition. Everything I
Yeah.
knew was oral tradition, and I didn't have another book, herbal book, until I got a job at Clayton College, director of herbal studies. That was 1999, and I walked in and they said, "Here's the library," and I looked and I'm like, "Holy expletive, expletive." There's a whole, like there were bookcases and bookcases of herbal books. I had no idea they existed
Hmm.
because 'cause I'd just been kind of down on my little mountain valley thing and doing my own thing that whole time. Had no
Mhm.
idea.
Mhm.
So, what was my second herbal book? I don't even remember. I just
Mm.
started devouring
Mhm.
the books in the Clayton College. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's such a unique experience because not a lot of people these days grow up kind of in this not insular, but you were just kind of, you weren't going to
Yeah.
herbal conferences and you didn't have a large herbal bookshelf because it didn't exist back then even.
No,
So
no, there was no
um,
internet.
yeah.
But it was Matthew Wood when I went to work at Clayton College. It turned out Matthew Wood had been doing some consulting with a college in the herbal program. And we met over the telephone around 2000. And Matthew is the person at the next IHS I went. We actually met in person there. I don't remember what year that was. It had to have been 2000 or 2001, somewhere in there. And he's the person that kind of introduced me to the broader herbal community.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and what I think is interesting about that, Phyllis, is that it's like if we grow up with a lot of influences, then there can be a lot of like repetition and, just naturally, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I feel like, in reading your book and taking classes with you, you have just an interesting perspective that you don't hear, repeated and, throughout a lot of people because you had this kind of unique herbal upbringing. So, um, yeah, I just think that's a gift that you bring and perspectives that you bring that I find really valuable.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing about your story and answering my personal curiosities there. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add, or should we jump into
Well, I was just gonna say, in this time period, like, I, thought it was very important to, expand, and so I've worked in mental health even before I was at Clayton College, kind of like my first foray was into mental health, and I was a physician's assistant in mental health at a county mental health center. If
Mhm,
anybody's ever worked at a county mental health center, you know what that means.
mhm,
And who your clientele is. And I also worked at a drug rehab center
mhm,
associated with the county mental health center. Later, I got my master's degree from the University of Alabama in nutrition and healthcare because I think nutrition is so, so important,
mhm,
right? And I worked in doctor's offices, and I really support having tradition, but having some science too. It's a different world. When
mhm,
my average client comes in with 6 different medications, I need to know a little bit more than my grandmother did.
mhm,
Um, in that situation of herb drug interactions and physiology. So I encourage everybody to continue their education.
mhm. Thank you, Phyllis.
Mhm.
Well, you've chosen a plant for today that's never been on the show before
Ah,
and one that I intuitively love, but I haven't really worked with much beyond kind of flavor, really. So I'm excited to
okay.
hear about sumac with you.
Yeah.
I wonder if the
Suma-
first thing we should discuss, though, because there's
okay.
probably somebody out there wondering why we might be discussing a toxic plant. That always comes up. So,
Okay. So sumac, there are 4 or 5 different species of sumac. It depends on where you live, and only one of them is toxic. The rest are medicinal or edible, or both. The toxic plant is actually quite easy to determine from the others. All the other species, the medicinal species, have red to rust to brown berries, right? The poisonous sumac has green to white berries, and they never change to any other color. So it's very striking, these white berries that kind of stick up above the green leaves. It's very striking, but you see that, don't even touch it because some people actually get a little rash from touching it, right?
mm,
So caution there. But there are the other species that are not toxic, highly medicinal, have, like I say, red to rust to brownish red berries. And in my area of the woods, we have smooth, winged. We have the poison, but we're going to forget about it for right now. We have a little bit of staghorn. I'm a little too far south for a lot of staghorn. And then there's one called fragrant sumac that is found more out west, along with some of these other ones, and it is medicinal also, and it has kind of um, pinkish lavender red
Hmm.
berries. It's a little bit different. So anyway, poisonous sumac needs a lot of moisture. The other sumacs don't need as much moisture. It really likes swampy land, or land that has moisture. And again, remember the white berries. And now we're going to forget about it. And always, if you're looking to identify a plant, have your book with you if you don't know it, or ask someone who's smarter than you on that. Staghorn is probably the most popular further north from me, gets to a height of about 12 feet, and then the berry cluster sticks kind of straight up like a staghorn. I have the smooth, which tends to have kind of almost mauve berries, mauvish red berries. It also kind of sticks up, but it kind of has a little curve on the end. My favorite is winged, and we have a lot of winged, and winged sumac on the stems of the plant coming off the branches has a little extra leaf material on the side of the stems before it goes into the stem. And winged sumac is spread out like a hand. All the
Okay.
rest of them are like this. Winged sumac is like this. And it gets maybe 10 feet tall. And this is a big year for sumac. I've been
Mm.
seeing sumac like everywhere, and I've been seeing like fields of elderberry flowers. It's unreal how much elderberry there is this year.
Mm.
So in Southern folk medicine, when you see a plant that's in abundance, that means gather it because you're going to need it in the time period coming up. So I will be gathering elderberry, and I will be gathering sumac this year. The berries are covered with these tiny, tiny little hairs that fall off when they dry. And I just dry a whole head. I don't take all the berries off the head. I
Mm.
just dry the whole head. And sumac is kind of unusual in that it never feels totally dry.
Hmm.
And you don't want it to. If it gets too dry, then it's coated in malic acid and an oil. And if it gets too dry, it's lost its medicinal activity. So I have sumac that I've had for 5 years, and and every time I use it, I feel of the berry, you know, and if it feels tacky under my fingers, I know it's still medicinally active. When it feels dry, it's time for me to throw it out.
Mm.
It's not working anymore. It doesn't need any. I keep mine in a brown paper bag. It doesn't need any kind of special storage. Somebody might want to freeze it, but when the dried is lasting 5 years, hey, it's time to get new anyway. I dry it on my kitchen counter maybe 3 to 5 days. Again, you don't want it to get too dry. You want to keep the tackiness. And then I just throw it in a brown paper bag, and I stuff it back in on a shelf, close the door. And then when I need it, I just pull out, cut off a head of sumac, bring it out. So anyway, keep that in mind. If after the weather turns cool, if you go out to harvest and the the berry heads have turned like this, well, you've missed your opportunity to harvest.
Mm.
Because when they're no longer medicinally active, or the weather gets too chilly, or the frost hits, they droop.
Mm.
And when they'll start turning brown, and when they droop, they've lost their medicinal activity. Every single part of the sumac plant is medicinally active. I use the berries because they taste good. They have that little extra bit of malic acid, and I'm not damaging the plant. Sometimes I get the leaves, which are a little more tannic than the berries. But hey, the berries are easy to get. They taste good. No tree damage. My mother called this plant shoemaker, because back in a certain time period of her life, they used it to make soles, the root to make soles of shoes. And they used the wood also sometimes to make gun stocks. It's a dense wood, but it's kind of soft at the same time. It's dense but soft. So it was used. It's not a timber. Remember, it's only getting about 12 feet tall, and it's really kind of like a big shrub, at least where I'm at. So anyway, that's kind of the background on sumac. Leaves, stem, root, bark, seed heads, all are medicinally active. My favorite, of course, is drying it too, but I'm a folk medicine tincture. So to make a tincture, I just stuff a bunch of seed heads in a jar and pour in some alcohol. I'm done. I know it's not everybody's method of medicine making, but it works really good and you'll have a really lovely red tincture. If you're making a decoction out of it, a seed head and about 3/4 quart of water is what I usually use. Southern decoctions are brought to a boil, and then taken down to simmer for about 10 minutes and then turned off and let sit. No top on it. There's no lid on the pot. And I'll let it sit, and it will also be a lovely red to maroon color. It will have a bit of a sour taste because the berries are sour. The more leaves you have in it, the more bitter it's going to be. And so now you can say that but if you cook the berries, like if you boiled them or simmered them like for 20 minutes, now you're going to have bitter in your decoction. So it's sour underlined by bitter taste on sumac, which if you're into taste gives you a little bit of medicinal activities. The leaves were boiled, or can be boiled to and used as a topical fungus remedy. Is it better than black walnut for a fungus on the skin? It's just a little bit different, and sometimes I mix sumac decoction with black walnut decoction to get rid of ringworm, yeast on the skin, fungus on the feet. Very useful for doing that. Any kind of skin rashes, skin ulcers. Um, Really good applied externally for hemorrhoids, and also the tea can be drank also to help shrink up hemorrhoids. The decoction is really good for a sore throat. If you want to make a little gargle it back down there. Really useful for a sore throat, any kind of what are those canker sores? If you have a canker sore, just kind of rinse with sumac a couple of times a day, and pretty soon they're gone. Let me tell you, pretty quick. Tightens up the gums. Good for teeth and gum problems. The winged I use because it looks so airy compared to the other ones. I use the wing for respiratory issues. I used quite a bit of it back during COVID. It helps make a productive cough. It helps tone mucous membrane tissues, regardless of whether it's lungs or gut or bladder. It is indicated, is the word I'm looking for. It's indicated with any kind of UTI, kidney disorder, bladder issue. It's very toning on the bladder, diuretic without being exhausting on the kidneys. So are irritating on the kidneys. Maybe that's a way to put it. So, traditionally used for kidney infections, bladder infections, anemia. And this is where it's got, my claim to fame as far as what I want to use it for most often is going to be anemia. Related to poorly functioning kidneys, but it can be useful for any kind of anemia. But the kidneys make a hormone called erythropoietin, I think it's the name of it, which signals the bone marrow to make red blood cells. So when people have kidney disease, pretty soon they're anemic.
Mhm.
And so, as an example, one time I had a client who was maybe 28 or 29, and she was on dialysis 3 times a week. And her kidneys had been damaged because she'd taken over her young lifetime so much Tylenol and ibuprofen that it had actually killed her kidneys pretty much. And I taught her how to cook up sumac at home and ask her to drink like a cup or 2 a day, whatever her tummy might like. And she actually was interesting because every time she came to see me, she could bring the blood work from her dialysis. So we could see what was changing and what wasn't changing. She said this was the first time she'd never been anemic with dialysis. And that is pretty huge if you think about it. It's
Mhm.
pretty darn huge. And the doctors were like, "This must be wrong. You've got to be anemic. Everybody's anemic, because that is the nature of dialysis. But as long as she drank the sumac, she had more energy, and she wasn't anemic.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
I feel like there's a lot more people who need to know about that.
Yeah. Yes. Um, Sumac tea leaves. You can use leaves or berry. Anti-diabetic. It will lower blood sugar, and it was one of kind of the traditional, along with huckleberry leaves for diabetes, like in my grandmother's day, right?
Hmm.
And it is still like the main thing I go for lowering blood sugar.
Hmm.
At the same time, it is antibacterial, antiviral. James Duke, on when he was investigating various plants, and he's got Duke's database, or he had Duke's database. He said that sumac tested against more organisms than any other plant he had tested, like more than echinacea, more than elderberry. So it had more anti-infective, antiviral activity, he thought, than those two plants. And he was like, I don't know why people aren't using it anymore, right?
Hmm.
Why aren't they using it more often?
That's
Um,
exactly what I'm thinking in my own head right now. Why am I not using this plant more often?
yeah,
I'm so inspired. This is so amazing.
I think it's because nobody really knows about it, to
Yeah.
where I keep it and I use it literally all the time, you know. There's probably not a week or 2 goes by I'm not recommending it or not using it for something. The decoction can be made into, a wash for, um, bed sores and ulcers on the skin. And it helps wash out bacteria and dry up the open ulcers and wounds, and which then allows healing to take place. It's a poison ivy wash, so it will help. This is after you have poison ivy and you have poison ivy. It will just kind of help strip the oils off with a decoction, which is, again, bringing it to a boil for at least 5 to 10 minutes. No, I'm sorry. Bring it to a boil. When it gets to a boil, turn it to a simmer for at least 5 to 10 minutes, and then just turn it off and let it sit. Really good poison ivy wash. And so I use that. Sometimes I put some plantain in with it because they seem to work really well together for poison ivy. So those are good. Bleeding ulcer. It stops bleeding internally and externally, which is why it was really useful for wounds and hemorrhoids. It's also good for bleeding ulcers. Now, it's maybe not going to heal the ulcer up completely, but it will stop the immediate bleeding. It can stop bleeding from ulcerative colitis. Very useful plant.
Yeah.
If you break a twig on the sumac plant, there's a little that white milk, we call white latex or milk sap. We call it milk sap. Latex that can be used topically or was used topically for sunspots, skin spots, moles. It has kind of like the activity other latex bearing plants do to eat away things on the skin. So it was there. It can be smoked. The dried leaves can be smoked to open the lungs, and it was considered an asthma remedy. I've only done that a couple of times, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so harsh. It's like so terribly harsh that you start coughing, and whatever's in there, you cough up and you're better, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just because it has done that. Um, but I find most smoking blends a little too harsh, so that's just me and my lungs. So sumac lemonade is what it's called. Is a nice little summer cooling beverage. In the old vernacular, sumac was considered cooling and a refrigerant. And sumac lemonade, easy to make. Just throw a head or two, depends on how much you want to make. Let's say you want to make a gallon of it, throw about 5 heads into the pot of water and just bring it to a boil and then let it sit till that water gets really red. Also makes a really good sun tea, which I've actually done more often than the stovetop method, is where I stuff a bunch of heads into a gallon of water. And remember, I'm in Alabama, it gets pretty hot in the summer. Top on it, put it out in the sun, and you can just watch the water change color over time. And 3 or 4 hours later, you have this amazing beverage, and you haven't heated up your kitchen. Some people like it sweetened, and some people just like it as is. It's not as sharp as a lemon, for sure. It's definitely sour, but definitely cooling. So either one. And I have actually found sugar is a little bit nicer sweetener with it than honey, but your choice. Um, Honey, when it's hot, is a little cloying, and it gets hot here. May not be the same where you are. Super useful for cough, colds, and flus of any kind. And I mentioned lungs, and I'd used it for COVID, but sinus infections, your odd virus that's or RSV or whatever happens to be going around, it really does help dry all this up without suppressing. Uh, the activity of the lungs. Like if it needs to move, it will still move. It's not suppressing it that much, but it does help dry up a little of the excess nasal. And yeah, like one time we had one of these things going through my house, and it was like horrible. It was like if you turned your head down, like mucus would come out your nose. It was copious mucus. And I looked up and my daughter was coming through the house and she'd taken toilet paper, twisted, and it was stuffed up both her nostrils. And it was
Oh, so
like,
miserable.
yes, and I was like, "It's time for a sumac." It's let me
Mhm.
go make some sumac. I didn't realize it was that bad. But just in a short time, it dried it up. It works well with peppermint or spearmint and it tastes really good to help dry up sinus congestion. If you have a sun tea, it's gonna be also high in vitamin C. If you cook it on your stovetop, less vitamin C. It can help because it's a diuretic and it's supportive of the kidneys. It can help lower blood pressure. I would say almost as good as a diuretic prescription diuretic without the side effects that go along with it. And it is last but not least, as far as medicinal activity goes, it helps reduce a fever because it is cooling, you know?
Mhm.
So any herb that's cooling enough is going to help lower fever, but it can do it very pleasantly and with a good taste. All right. So that's kind of it.
Is that all? I'm just kidding. I'm like seriously just wondering how is this herb so like understated and why have I not worked with it more? I
I
feel like
don't know.
mind
It's
blown
very
right now.
yeah. Oh, well, good. Very popular here in the deep South, but I don't think it's just made its way out into the world,
Mhm.
into the herbal world, I should say. Um,
Yeah, previous to this, I've heard of sumac lemonade, and then it's often in sitar blends. Um,
yes, yeah,
so
since
that's kind of how
Satar
I'm familiar with it, but I've never worked with it medicinally, and wow, I'm excited. It's nothing like finding a new plant to work with, It's just that
right.
new renewed inspiration and joy and
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
yeah.
I think you'll like working with it.
Well, when I saw your recipe that you're sharing with us, it's this blend of sumac and elderberry. I'll let you describe it. But I was like, I didn't know much about sumac, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting combination. But now, because of what you shared, I think I get it. So, would you like to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the recipe?
Yeah, it's a equal amounts of sumac and elderberry, and I'll kind of briefly go over how to make it here in a second. But um, I find elderberry a little cloying, a little musky, cloying taste. And sumac is real crisp and sour, and it really cuts the cloyness of the elderberry. They have some similar activities and overlaps, but sumac is a little bit stronger, and I'll stand behind that statement than
Mm,
elderberry. It just hasn't been researched in the same way that elderberry has. But traditionally, it's traditional herbalists in the South, elderberry or sumac, they're like, elderberry, nope, sumac, elderberry, sumac. I'm going to take the sumac,
hmm.
right? Um,
I could feel
that
like if you were in a room of herbalists, Phyllis, and you stood up and said, sumac is a little bit stronger than elderberry, I feel like that could be a really fun thing to watch unfold.
oh, I would be crucified, right? I would be totally crucified. But that also tells me they've never worked with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have never worked with it, so they don't really know. So, sumac elderberry syrup is what I would make every year for my kids, for me and my kids for the winter. Some people like jelly, but I think the syrup has more potential ways to use it. I mean, like during cough, cold, and flu season, I would be like, let's have this on our pancakes,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? It's an immediate handy cough syrup. All right, let me get this out, cough syrup.
Mm,
Um, and it just tastes so good. The
mm,
two together taste so much better than that. It just tastes wonderful. Or I would go, oh, I got some fizzy water. Let me put some of this in the water, and we can have this. One year at herb school, we put it on our ice cream, but we also made homemade ice cream, and then we
mm,
had elderberry sumac syrup to go on top of our homemade ice cream. Um, so it's just much more things you can use it with. It can's really easy. I never water bath can it. My personal preference. I know technically, if you're doing a jam or a jelly, you should put it in a water bath for 10 minutes. But this was so sour and had so much acid, I didn't personally feel like I needed to, and also knew we were going to go through the whole thing in a year,
mm,
so not a big deal. And I would 5 years later, I would open it, I'd find one in the back of the cupboard and we're like, "Yay," and it would still be fine. So basically it's, I would say, I had a 2 of sumac and then, the recipe actually kinda measured for y'all that goes along with this. I had a 2 of sumac and a big handful of elderberry. So these are my normal measurements. So I had to think about putting it in cups. And so forgive me if the recipe measurements aren't quite right. Um, but anyway, big thick handful of elderberries, couple of heads of sumac. And if they're small heads, make it three in about a quart of water, quart and a half of water. Bring it all to a boil. Simmer it for about 15 minutes. Um, Turn it off and let it cool enough to work with it, and then strain all that out. And then measure it. And if, let's say, you end up with a quart of decoction, so now you've got this really good decoction. So you've got a quart, which is 2 pints, which is how many cups? Anybody know? See the wheels turning. Right? So there's 2 cups to
That'd
a
be
pint,
right. Yeah.
right? Yep, 2 cups to a pint, and you've got 2 pints in a quart, so that's gonna be 4 cups of sugar, and please use sugar, for it to seal appropriately. And then to make sure it seals is another cup of sugar. So you're going to end up with a quart, 5 cups of sugar. And you may go, oh my God, that's 5 cups of sugar. Yeah, but you want it to seal. You want it to preserve, and sugar is a preservative. That's why it's in there.
Mhm.
Uh, Honey, you would, if you decide I really want to use honey, just be aware you're cooking it and you're going to lose a lot of the effects of honey. And sometimes honey doesn't seal um, quite as well as sugar does.
Mhm.
There was a reason traditionally you use sugar as a preservative. You also squeeze the juice of half a lemon into all this. So you've got all this back in a pot, you're stirring it up, you bring that to a boil, and the color of the sumac is red, the color of the elderberries is purple, your syrup is going to be fuchsia. It
Mm.
is the brightest. I made it for Rosemary, was down visiting once, and I shared some with her, and she was like looking at the color, and she started laughing, and she said, "This is the hottest. This is hot. This is like passion." She said, "This is like passion in a jar." Right? That's the color of it. You were like,
Mhm.
"Wow, where did this color come from?" But the lemon juice really brings it out, brings the
Mhm.
color change out. And so have some, if you want to can it, now you've got some hot jars going over here on the side. You've boiled your jars, they're sterilized. You keep them hot. You have your rings, you have your taps, you've got them in another pot. You're keeping them hot. The sumac has boiled up, and elderberry is boiled up really good. You've got it on a low simmer because it has to go into the hot jars hot with the hot taps and the hot rings for everything to seal, right?
Mm.
And so, and there you have it. So I try to can, um, in a good year for the last 4 years, there hasn't been a lot of sumac. So I'm very hopeful I'm seeing a lot this year that
Mm.
I'll be able to gather some. So
I love that you said sumac and elderberry are big this year. So
they are
your combination is it's the year for it.
is is the year for it. It's the absolute year for it. So I'm very excited about that because I have been out. I finished mine out during COVID, and there just wasn't any sumac.
Hmm.
By the time I would get to it, bugs or something would get to it. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you have sumac lemonade, sumac syrup, sumac decoctions, and sumac tincture. So many ways to preserve it and use it.
Mhm. Including over ice cream. You've really covered
And
a lot of bases here.
I did. It is your medicinal food.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Hot butter biscuit, I mean, endless, food uses for this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing so many of those and for the sumac elderberry recipe in particular. Everyone can visit the show notes at herbswithrosaliepodcast.com to download this beautiful recipe. Thank you, Phyllis.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, and thanks so much for sharing about sumac. I'm genuinely super excited to start working with this plant. I know we have sumac in the area and I've looked at it with curiosity. I just haven't taken that next step. And now I feel much more empowered to do so. So
Oh,
thank you.
good. Good. Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, next, I would love to hear what kind of herbal projects you have going on.
Okay, well, I have an herb school, so I'm still teaching. I get around to conferences. I'm working on the second Southern folk medicine book
Oh,
to
cool.
write about the things like high blood, low blood, the blood types that I didn't cover in the first book. So I'm working on that. I have grandkids now.
Mm,
That's a big herbal project. Hey, let's blow the dandelion, fun
yeah.
things with
Yeah.
grandkids. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. I teach for other herb schools on occasion and stuff like that, and just really see clients. I still see clients, and just stay busy. I stay
Yeah.
herbally busy, so
What's
it's
the
good.
best place for people to find you, Phyllis?
Just go to my website, just my name, Phyllis D. Light. Go to my website, hit contact, and I will get back with you for sure.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all of this. Before I let you go, I have one more question.
Sure.
And the final question for you is one of my favorite questions, and that is, how do herbs instill hope in you?
Wow. That's kind of actually more complicated question than it for or less simple question than it first seems. It's a pretty deep question when you think about it. And I would say it's not just hope, although there is hope there, but also continuance, survival. Um, I mean, when I think about the world and the environment, and when I think that of what we're doing to the earth and how many species we're losing in some part of the world every single day, um, it then becomes okay, hold on. Let me get ready here. I can't talk without my hands. It becomes really, I think, important for us to think about conservation and ways to make sure we're not going to lose our plants, and ways to make sure traditional uses our plants are not lost. You know, we have this thing with the internet of it, and I've done this. Y'all try it. I will Google, oh, herbs for type 2 diabetes, like 7 or 8 or 9 herbs come up, right? Then I'll Google herbs for autoimmune disease. The same 7 herbs will come up. You know, I'll Google, oh, herbs for colds and viruses. We got 4 or 5 of the same herbs coming up. And so there's this thing that's happening in the world and in the healing communities and the herbalism of we're limiting the plants that we're using.
Mhm.
We're limiting our knowledge of the plant, and it's a much more also pharmaceutical not approach. And so I just talked about sumac, which was so common in my early training. And how many people are using sumac out there? And look at all the uses. It's not on that list of 7 herbs. So one of my hopes is that we can move or see past kind of this internet craze and we find our knowledgeable teachers and our knowledgeable books away from I call it the fast 10 herbs on the internet,
Mhm.
and that we move into saving that information, but we're also moving into saving the plants.
Mhm.
Um, Also at the same time. So I have hope that the plants themselves will kind of show the way, so to speak. The more we use them, the stronger they get. And the more we
Mhm.
spread that information, the more likely we're going to save the plant. So that is one of my hopes. And I know this is kind of maybe the reverse of what you were talking about when you first asked the question. Um, how does plants give me hope? I'm actually trying to give the plants hope. I
Mhm.
actually want to go in the other direction. So they're not dying off, so they're not being killed off. So they were here first. Yeah, we came last, right? Regardless of what system you want to look at, we came last. So
Mhm.
I want to somehow acknowledge and thank them for all their uses and that they are there for us, but I also want to work hard that they're not diminished or devastated or eliminated in any way possible.
Mhm.
Whatever I can do to help make that happen. That's what
Mhm.
I work on.
Yeah, well, I can tell you're doing it. Here you are sharing sumac,
Yeah.
spreading the word. I know I'm not going to be the only one who's inspired about this plant. And yeah, I really like what you said, Phyllis, about yeah, this kind of thing that's happening right now where our herbal materia medica is becoming condensed. In some ways, I think it's good in that the popular mass produced herbs can be the ones that are the most ubiquitous. But on the other hand, we can't lose this knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. We can't.
Yeah.
And I just think about how much plant knowledge is not being used from, let's say, the medieval period.
Hmm.
They used a whole lot more plants than we do,
Hmm.
you know, and the information many times is still there in, old herbal books. But then we read the herbal books and we think, oh, can you really use a campaign like that?
Hmm.
Right. Um, and so, we start questioning it. But here's a practitioner who, let's say, used campaign for digestive difficulties where we only think about it as a lung herb,
Hmm.
right? For coughs and colds and flu. It was a number one pinworm remedy for little kids. Huge digestive plant. I mean, so we're also, even with the plants that we are familiar with, we are for losing or forgetting some of their many, many uses,
Hmm.
because plants are full of secondary metabolites and phytochemicals. They can do many, many, one plant can do many, many, many different things,
Hmm.
right? So we shouldn't pigeonhole them either.
Yeah. Well, that's so much about what this podcast is about, and you have been a most excellent guest. I'm so deeply appreciative. I feel, yeah, so deeply appreciative of sumac, and I can't wait to work with it. And what you just said, it just makes me think of just how important it is to spend time with one plant, not just
Yeah,
memorize a couple facts about a plant, but to really work with a plant with different people, different ailments, and really see the possibilities there. And yeah, to get away from like
absolutely.
fast herbalism, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. Fast food herbalism. That's what
Yep. Well, thank you again so much. Thanks for being here and thanks for sharing so much wisdom with us.
Thank you for having me. Well, bye, y'all.
As always, thanks for being here. Don't forget to head over to the show notes at herbswithrosaleepodcast.com to download your beautifully illustrated recipe card and to get a transcript of this show. There, you'll also be able to sign up for my weekly newsletter, which is the best way to stay in touch with me. You can find more from Phyllis at phyllisdlight.com. And if you'd like more herbal episodes to come your way, then one of the best ways to support this podcast is by subscribing on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. I deeply believe that this world needs more herbalists and plant-centered folks, and I'm so glad that you're here as part of this herbal community. Also, a big round of thanks to the people all over the world who make this podcast happen week to week. Nicole Paul is the project manager who oversees the whole operation, from guest outreach to writing show notes to actually uploading each episode and so many other things I don't even know. She really holds this whole thing together. Francesca is our fabulous video and audio editor. She not only makes listening more pleasant, she also adds beauty to the YouTube videos with plant images and video overlays. Tatiana Rusikova is the botanical illustrator who creates gorgeous plant and recipe illustrations for us. I love them. I know that you do too. Christy edits the recipe cards, and then Jenny creates them as well as the thumbnail images for YouTube. Alex is our tech support and social media manager, and Karen and Emily are our student services coordinators and community support. For those of you who like to read along, Jennifer is who creates the transcripts for us each week. Xavier, my handsome French husband, is the cameraman and website IT guy. It takes an herbal village to make it all happen, including you. One of my favorite things about this podcast is hearing from you. I read every comment that comes in, and I share really sweet ones with the guests. I'm excited to hear your herbal thoughts on sumac. Okay, you have lasted to the very end of the show, which means you get a gold star and this herbal tidbit. Okay, so wow, I had no idea about sumac's many gifts and potential. I feel like it's an herb that's just been on the periphery for far too long, so I was really excited to hear more about this plant from Phyllis, and I'm really excited to work with this plant myself. So, right after interviewing Phyllis, I went to PubMed because I just wanted to see, out of curiosity, what studies and research there's been done on sumac. And there's a lot, especially in regards to lowering blood glucose, modulating inflammation, reducing high blood pressure, and balancing cholesterol levels, which, if you know me at all, is the stuff that I often like to talk about. So I'm excited to get to know this plant better. There was also a randomized clinical trial that showed that a sumac and rose mouthwash had better results than a pharmaceutical for reducing radiation-induced oral mucositis. It also improved the quality of life in patients with head and neck cancers. So that's really cool and powerful stuff there, and I love that combination of sumac and rose. As always, I'll include a citation for that study in the show notes. And again, I look forward to hearing your thoughts on sumac.